Good morning. Welcome to Simply Remarkable. Did you know today is National Happiness Happens Day? Now, we want you to have a happy time here with us because today I'm so excited that we're going to get to learn leadership's secrets on how to handle crisis, challenges, and change. I'm ready to learn. How about you? Let's go. Greetings to our live audience here today, coming to us from LinkedIn, X, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Wow, a big crowd. And we just look forward to this weekly conversation so that we can share our featured speaker with you today, and you get to meet her personally, which is great. And also, our chat line is open. You can leave us a message, ask us a question. We want to engage with you. So please let us know you're there, and we'd love to have you join us. Now, today's featured guest is Mary Kelly. Now, she's no stranger to our show. We love having her because everybody wants more. So that's why we keep asking her. And she's gracious enough to come to us. Now, she's an international award-winning leadership keynote speaker. She's a Hall of Fame speaker. She's a U.S. Navy retired commander. She's a best-selling author of 15 business and leadership books. She's an executive consultant, coach, and CEO of her company, Productive Leaders. Now, she combines her military experience and corporate stories for an unforgettable experience. And she throws in a little fun and humor, too. I love that. And she delivers customized and memorable experiences to all of her audiences. Welcome, Mary. We are so glad to have you today. And I know you travel a lot. So where are you coming to us from?
Today, I'm actually in Texas. If some of you might recognize the background, if you're looking at us live, this is a Marriott property. And I'm so glad because they have great Wi-Fi.
Wow, that is great. Well, I'm so glad that you're able to just come anywhere. This is the beautiful thing of virtual. We can just get anywhere. Now, I know this time goes by really quick. And we've got a lot of questions that people have asked me. So I said, I'm going to make sure I bring them all up, okay? Now, today, Mary, it is National Happiness Happens Day. I thought that was cute. It came through on my feed this morning, and I said, okay, yeah, we're going to make happy happen today. Now, tell me, Mary, what does happiness mean to you? What does it look
Happiness
like?
means happiness to me is contentment. It's gratitude and contentment. It's when you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm so grateful for yet another day above ground. It is. I'm so grateful for all the blessings. I am so grateful for everything I get to do. You know, you and I both think in terms of get to do instead of have to do. Lots of people wake up and say, oh, I have to go to the store and I have to do this and I have to pick up the kids and I have to see my parents and I have to do, we get to do all these things. And I think that does make a difference when we think about all the have tos as get tos.
I love that. I love that. And I share that a lot too, because I said, really, I don't have to do anything. I just get to do this, and I'm so glad and happy to do it. So thank you for sharing that, Mary, because we want people to be happy. So now you got a key there. You got a key there. Now, Mary, I want to thank you for your military service.
Oh my
You
goodness,
paved the
my
way
honor.
for a lot to come after you, being a retired former U.S. Navy commander. I am sure you experienced a lot in your career that we will never know, but we just thank you for that service. It means a lot. I have a military family, and I'm so excited next weekend. I have a grandson in the Marines, and he's coming to North Carolina for some training, so we get to celebrate my birthday next weekend with him. So that's always exciting.
That's
Now,
so wonderful. My whole family's military as well, so we appreciate that.
isn't that cool? Isn't that
It
cool?
is.
It's really. Now, tell us what drew you into the military service initially, and leadership, did you always know about leadership, or did you have to discover it? Did it just happen? How did that happen?
I think I was really fortunate, honestly, Sue, because first off, I had good parents. I come from a pretty normal American family, two parents, four of us kids. All four of us kids are still really close, thank goodness, you know, but we were all military. We were all drawn to military service. My older brother's a Marine, he married Navy. Um, you know, I've been widowed twice. My first husband was a Marine, my second was Navy. I'm now happily married to number three. And yes, I know he's a brave man. But for those of your listeners, cancer is awful and terrible. And I don't wish cancer on my worst enemy. It's just awful to go through. I've been through it now way more than I should. But my younger sister's Air Force, her husband's Navy. My younger brother was the Navy pilot in the family. So we're all military. And we all knew that if we wanted to do well in the military, we had to find a way to get to the military. So we did the volunteer work in high school. We all had jobs in high school. We were all really involved in high school. And so I really credit my parents for giving us a solid educational background so that we could, frankly, do well in the military.
That's so great. That's so great. Great story. Great story. Did you go to the Naval Academy? You
I
did, right?
did. I went to the Naval Academy. My very last tour of duty was back teaching at the Naval Academy, my last tour on active duty. And then I also spent 10 years as a civilian professor at the Air Force Academy.
Wow.
Mhm.
Awesome. Awesome. So you've inspired many along the way. That's so great. That's so great. Now, it's incredible that you have written 15 best-selling leadership and business books. I've got them on display over here. I mean, and I love this one, Stop Procrastinating. And then we've got You Next. I mean, you have just inspired so much of us. What drives you to keep sharing your knowledge? Is there a personal mission or something behind it?
Well, you're so kind to ask. My personal mission and vision, and I do think everybody should have a personal mission and vision, but my personal mission and vision is to create a movement where people love to be leaders. They love the responsibility. They love to embrace the challenges, and they frankly love the people they get to lead, whether it's employees, whether it's clients, whether it's customers, whether it's just helping people do the right thing on a day-to-day basis. Because leadership is hard. If you're doing it right, leadership is difficult. And I think a lot of people think, oh, leadership is an automatic perk of the job, or I'll automatically learn leadership when I get promoted into it. But that's really not how it works. Leadership takes practice and study and dedication, and it takes, frankly, making mistakes and learning from those mistakes.
It's so true because everyone thinks, oh, yeah, I can be a leader. I said, really? Mm-hmm. Okay. Think that. You need some help, though. You need some help. And that's what we have experts like you around to help us. Now, what do you see as the biggest mistake that you see business leaders today are making when crisis hits? And how can they avoid it? Because crises are, we're in that period. What do we do? What do we tell us how that works?
The number one mistake that I see leaders making, leaders, managers at all levels, is that when there is a crisis or a challenge or a change, and it doesn't have to be a full-on crisis. It doesn't have to be the building is on fire. Although I had a client whose warehouse caught fire. It doesn't have to be a full-on, change, like I'm moving from LA to Houston. And it doesn't have to be anything hugely significant. It can be something like, we got a new software system and I don't understand it. Or Wi-Fi went out today. or the freight elevator went out today, or like there's always something. And the number one mistake I see leaders making is they do nothing. They are so afraid of making the wrong decision that during a crisis, they make zero decision. And because of that, their people are just floundering. I tell people all the time that you have to make a decision. A ship in the middle of the ocean has to pick a direction and point in that direction. Otherwise, you get swamped by rogue waves. Like you'll just get thrown under. You have to make a decision and go in that direction. You can course correct along the way. You can tweak your decision. You can say, okay, we did that yesterday. Now we're going to, we're going to move slightly into this direction, or this is where we want to focus our time and attention, or let's spend resources on this, or let's try this. Many leaders are so afraid to try and fail that they don't try at all. And I would much rather you try different options and see what works rather than sitting by and doing nothing.
Right. Because that's the key, and we've got to go after it, because failure is always there, but we can overcome that. But if we don't do anything, we'll never know.
That's it. And I think a lot of people, Sue, and you've seen this, and you know this better than lots of people, a lot of people give up. They just say, you know what? I'm just going to stop. I'm just going to give up. I'm going to do nothing. I'm just going to wait for retirement, or I'm going to wait till I get fired, or I'm just going to sit around and wait, and I'm going to give up. And you can see it in their eyes when they give up. You can see it. They've given up. And I want to just encourage people to not give up, to keep going in the right direction. If you don't know the right direction, it's a good time to ask for help. If you're not sure, ask other people, get on a forum, call in the chat line, say, hey, I've got this situation. Do you have any thoughts for me? Most people want to see you succeed, and they will help you. They will give you good advice. They'll give you that leg up. In NASCAR, we call it a bump draft. That's where you get behind somebody else and you give them that nice push forward. That's a bump draft. And sometimes even great people, even the best people need a little bump draft. So feel free, reach out for help, call somebody, figure it out, but don't quit.
I totally agree with that. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but you say, well, no, you're going to keep doing some way to get there, and you can make it. Now, what do you see today as the biggest challenges that leaders are facing?
The biggest challenges right now, like all times, we're in a period of uncertainty. And everybody says, oh, there's all this uncertainty. Yes, there is. But that's what life is. Life is just one uncertainty after another. Nothing is guaranteed. Today is not guaranteed. So what we need to do is we need to embrace the uncertainty. In the military, one of my best bosses said, look, you are never going to have 100% of the information you need to make the best decision. He said, you might have 60%, you might have 50%. If you're lucky, you get 75%. He said, but you've got to make the best decision you have based on the information you have right now. So in the face of uncertainty, reassess what it is you do know. Here's what we do know. We control our resources. We control our attitude. We control how we approach our strategic plan. We can control our marketing. We control our messaging. We control a lot of variables. So let's focus on the things we can control, and let's not focus on the things we can't control. And one of the examples I use all the time is, a lot of people, they'll get on social media and they'll get involved in an argument on social media with somebody over something like politics, or they didn't like what a Hollywood celebrity did, or they didn't like a cat video. I'm like, really, why are you wasting your time with things you cannot control with somebody you don't even know? Why are you doing this? You're not going to change their mind. So why are you wasting your time? I want people to please stop wasting time. Please control what you can control. And that's you, your business, your actions, your time, your resources, your cost basis. You can control a lot of variables. So let's focus on what you can control and let's make a difference there.
And let go of all the rest, right? That's hard to do for some.
And
And
it doesn't mean that you're oblivious. I mean, and Sue, I get up and watch financial news every single morning before I do anything else for about 2 hours. That is how I start my day. That's how I do my emails. That's how I do my coffee. I have to know what's going on financially. Now, there's a lot of things I can't control. I still have to know it in order to advise my clients, but it doesn't mean I get to control all those variables. Knowledge and control, two different things.
well, that brings, you just brought up a topic that I really want to talk about as well. You're ranked number 56 of the most influential economists in the world. Yay, wow. My audience wants to know. Let's get an expert. What is your view on where we're at today in our economy?
Okay, great question. And first, they froze that list, thank goodness. So I get to stay at number 56 for, ever, because they froze the list and that's the end. So yay, team. It's more impressive than I'm sure I deserve. So a few things. First, let's go through the basics that people care about. First, housing prices are actually dropping. Mortgage rates seem high until you remember the 1980s. And right now, the average mortgage rate is between 6.8 and 7%. So that's actually not very high. People say, oh, mortgage rates are high. Well, they're higher than they were a few years ago, but they were not high when you compare that to the 1980s. And yes, I can do the math too. And I know every quarter of a point does matter when it comes time to your monthly mortgage payment. But if you need a place to live and you need a house, don't delay buying a house. Housing prices are actually dropping. Now it's summertime as we're recording this. So housing prices, there's more inventory in the markets traditionally during summer. 35% of housing areas in America right now have actually lowered prices overall, 35%. So that's kind of important. Number two, our wages and salaries have gone up by an average of 4.1% since last year. That's a good pay raise. Keep in mind, inflation has only gone up by 2.7% last year. Now, that seems like people should be doing well, except we're not. Here's why. Because inflation only measures back the last 12 months. It's everything that happened before 12 months ago, that whole COVID time. Remember when we couldn't get toilet paper and we couldn't go outside and we couldn't go to ball games and ballets and all those other things? Well, because of that, prices went up. And in my neighborhood, the price of like eggs went up and just stayed high. Certain other things just stayed high. We're good at inflation. People are good at raising prices. We're not good at deflationary things, which is where we lower prices. Now, having said that, things are evening out. And the American consumer is still saving about 4.6%. Now, here's a fun question for your audience. How much money do you think you need to save for retirement? Well, Northwestern and Charles Schwab both conducted surveys of the average American and asked them, how much money do you think you need to save by the time you officially retire? Well, hang on, there's two things there. First, how long are you going to work? That's a whole different other separate question.
Mhm.
If you're a baby boomer, you're thinking, I'm never going to retire. If you're a Gen Xer, you're thinking, I'm going to retire before the baby boomers because they're never retiring. If you're a millennial, you're thinking, okay, all these people need to get out of the workforce so I can start running things. And if you're a Gen Zer, you're going, wait a second, I'm supposed to actually get a job. Come on. Wait, why? All right. So when we retire is an issue. But the average American, when you think about that, the average American, according to both Schwab and Northwestern, came up with a figure that the average American needs about $1.46 million to retire. And yet the average American does not have $1.46 million. Depending upon your age, you have lots less than that. Now, there's some wealthy people who are skewing the data that make it look like we're all doing better than we should. But we've got to be planning for our own retirement. The average Social Security check is only about $2,200 a month. So if people think nothing else from this, they might be thinking, I need to look at my retirement and be thinking about ways I can maximize my retirement.
Exactly. And I tell people that all the time. One thing you need to do is get out of debt. No, that was key to us. That was key to us. But we're not retired. You
Right.
know, We're not planning on to. It's not in our DNA, but, you know, things happen, so you never know. But we want to make sure that, thank you for sharing that, because we need hope here, you know, of where it's going. And I can see lots of changes recently, and I think it's going to continue. And I have that hope and faith that it will. And we just gotta, again, we don't control that. We got to control what we can. And thank you for sharing that, because that's really great. That's really great. Now, in your experience, what's the hardest part about getting people to embrace change rather than resist it? Now, a lot of things are happening in our world, and you can join it or you cannot. What is the hardest part about getting people to move?
The hardest part about getting people to embrace and accept change is explaining to them what's in it for me. Once people understand what's in it for me, how does this affect me? People don't care about you, your business, your life, they care about themselves. Because we're hardwired for self-preservation. So once you can approach people and say, here's a change, and this is what it's going to do for you, or this is how it's going to affect you, and this is what is going to be most beneficial for you. People want to benefit themselves. It's natural. Don't think of it as being selfish. Don't think of it as people being self-centered. It's just our natural instinct. So if you're leading people and you're trying to get people to embrace change, remember, our brain is hardwired to protect us, which means the habenula, that part of our brain that manages change, says, whoa, 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 let's not change. Change is dangerous. Change is bad. We don't know what change could bring. Everything I've done up to here, see, that's kept me alive. And if I change, maybe I won't be alive anymore. So your brain is hardwired to protect you. So you got to rip off that Band-Aid and go, okay, but if we're going to do this, let's do this today. We're going to make this change today. Let's rip off this Band-Aid. The habenula, that part of your brain goes, oh, that's what we're doing? Oh, got it. And then it embraces the change. Where people make a mistake is they don't explain what's in it for other people and they stretch out the change. So they think, oh, if I implement really, really slowly, my people will do better. No. What happens then is your people don't take you seriously. We're never going to get that new software system updated. Oh, we're going to implement it next Friday. Oh, wait, we're going to give you another month to get used to it. Oh, we're not really going to do that yet. Oh, that deadline didn't really matter. And all of a sudden, people stop taking you seriously. They think that you're not committed to the change. And then they think they don't have to do it because you keep delaying the change. So rip off the Band-Aid, make the change. People will grumble because that's what people do in the beginning, and then they will accept it. But along the way, you got to keep saying, look, I know change is hard, but this is going to be better for you in the long run. And here's why. This is going to be better for you because. And I think Sue, this last week, I have been moving my 93-year-old mama from independent living to assisted living. And that is a very big change. And she didn't want to do it. And she knew she had to, but it's still really hard. And again, I think it's harder once you're set in your ways, which let's face it, we all are. I think any kind of change is hard when you're 93. I agree. And it's much harder if, like, you're my 93-year-old mama and you don't see as well as you once did and you don't hear as well as you once did and things are just hard. And I said, Mom, we're going to do this. We're going to make this change. And once she kind of got the idea that it was going to be better, then she actually said the words before we moved her this week. She said, well, how many more nights am I stuck in this place, her old place? Which is really nice. But in her brain, she had decided she was moving and she wanted to get it done. So once you get people to that place where they've accepted it and they kind of look forward to it, even if it's a little scary, that's a good place to be.
Exactly, exactly. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that, because it's really a topic out there that people don't really, they want to get around it, and you can't get around it. You do have to address it. So thank you. Now, you known for bringing humor into the workplace, leadership workplace. How does humor and actually make someone a more effective leader during all these tough times of change and challenges and crisis?
Well, I like to think that I take my work very seriously and I take my people very seriously, but I do not take myself seriously. I think as an economist and a leadership person that if you want people to get on board with your message, you have to do it in a way that connects with people. So I try to use humor. Some people think I'm funnier than others. That's pretty natural, I guess. I'm not as funny as others, but I think that when we embrace the funny, so things can only get so bad and then they get funny. I'm fond of saying that. But you also have to understand that as a leader, sometimes you're dealing with really difficult topics. You're dealing with tough decisions. You're dealing with big issues that for some of my corporate people, it is millions and in some cases billions of dollars. So we've got to be able to look at things with different approaches. And I like to laugh. I think most people like to laugh. Not everybody's humor is the same. Humor that works in Florida doesn't work in California. Humor that works in Texas doesn't always work in Minnesota. That's okay. So there's geographical differences, but there's also people differences. But I think most people want to show up and be happy, and part of that is laughing. And I'm reminded of, you know, when Christopher Reeves was in that awful horse riding accident and he was suddenly paralyzed from the neck down. And he said he was at his absolute low point when the doctors told him he was never going to walk again. And then the door burst open and somebody dressed in a doctor's coat with a big red nose said he was here to conduct, an OBGYN exam of Christopher Reeves. And everybody was really confused till they realized it was Robin Williams. And he knew when to show up and get people to laugh at exactly the right moment so they could stop for a second, reframe the situation, and then move forward.
That's the key. That's the key. And you're customized when you go out to clients and to our audiences. You know all about them before you get there, so you know how to position the right type of humor and the right type. I love that because that's what we do here at Remarkable. We want to be custom so that your audiences, no matter where they're at, will adapt and get the message. So thank you for sharing that.
Well, we're
Now,
so we're so lucky because, we deal with so many different kinds of clients. And so to me, that's just an opportunity to research and learn about their corporate culture, their industry, their regulations, their people issues. And as a professional researcher, I just love that because then we get to learn every single day.
exactly, exactly. And that's one of my questions I always ask event planners. Okay. What's the demographics here? What does
Mhm.
it look like? What's the audience going to look like? Because then I can pick the perfect one that could address that audience. And you do very well on that. I love it. I love it. Now, Mary, for someone who's here today and someone who will hear the rebroadcast and someone who will hear the podcast next week, what if they're facing one of the biggest professional challenges right now in their lives? What would you tell them to do first thing tomorrow morning?
So the first thing is re-examine your vision, your mission, and your goals. Because where my leaders get in trouble, and if you watch the headlines today, there's some corporate leaders who have gotten themselves into some trouble. And what happened is they are not aligned with their values and the values of the organization. So everything starts with our values and the values of the organization and how we are aligned with that, with our mission, which is what we do. We make garlic presses, we produce cars, whatever it is we do, and our vision, which is where we're going. And if you look at leaders today, when they get off course, it is because they have missed the alignment between their values and their vision.
Exactly. And a lot of people say, well, we don't share that much anymore. The vision, we used to do that. And I said, I still do,
Mhm.
because you have to have that. And you teach that so well. I mean, that is key that I've learned so much from you. That's why I am here today.
You're so kind. You're so kind. Thank you.
And so, Mary, what are you going to do today to be remarkable? Is there anything else you'd like to share before we have to? Time's up. Golly, it just goes.
I'm so lucky. I'm on this mission to anonymously give away $100 a week. And so it's the funniest thing because nobody can know they're getting the money and nobody can know where it came from. So it's charities, sometimes it's individuals, sometimes it's my favorite is janitors in airports. That's a good one. So one of the things that I try to do is really share this abundance and wealth that we're all given, but in a way that's anonymous so if somebody is able to say thank you to me, I've failed. Like that's not anonymous, right? So that's going to be one of today's things. And I'm so fortunate we get to do this.
That is, because we are givers, and no matter what, that's a great remarkable. And
It's in my strategic plan to give away $100 anonymously a week. And I got to tell you, it's harder than you might think because they can never know where it came from. And you can't just like fling it, $20 bills in people's car. Okay, that might work, but it's not kind of how it works. So
and
it's
that's
finding good charities. It's finding people who are doing great stuff.
that is awesome. That is awesome. That's why I stay in business. I want to be able to give more, and that's key of who we are. And to our audience out there, what are you going to do today to be remarkable? Can you beat that one? I don't know. We never know. We never know. We'd love for you to share it with us because it helps everyone else. Because we want to make sure that we're including everything around us. And thank you for sharing that. Now, thanks, Mary, so much for joining us today. I wish for you a remarkable rest of 2025. Hopefully, we get to work together soon, and much success in helping leaders find their way through crisis, challenges, and change like we did today. We just kind of delved into it, but there's so many secrets that you gave us. And maybe it's just they have to do them again. And event planners and those looking for a speaker, now, if you want a speaker who can actually transform how your leaders handle crisis, challenges, and change, not just talk about it, Mary delivers real results. That's what she's focused on, results. And just contact us today. We would love to be able to send her to your audience because she brings the leadership tools that actually work when it matters most. And that's what I love. You get more than what you ever thought. Now, I want everyone to plan on joining us here again next Friday, August the 15th, as our special guest will be Melissa Spencer. Now, she's a speaker manager, agent, and owner of Speakers Consulting. Now, I love to have guests on that are experts in our industry. Now, Melissa's got 25 years experience. She's a trusted speaker industry expert. She goes the extra mile to ensure that speakers and event professionals have the best experience ever. You won't want to miss this conversation. We're going to be talking about the trends of the speaker world and the influence, everything around it. So make sure you join us next week. And I love what I get to do every day. I do. I absolutely do. And as my tagline says, let's be remarkable together. I would love to be remarkable with you today. Just give me a call. Now, I also want to make sure we never forget. We have to remember to continue to pray and support those who are recovering from the Texas floods, the North Carolina floods. North Carolina is still recovering from Hurricane Helene. We've got people in the California fires that are still recovering. This is a long-term recovery of these people, and we can't forget them. The news might have forgotten them, but we don't have to. So get involved and support those people that are helping them. And I wish for you a wonderful summer weekend. Hope you found some happiness today to celebrate, and we will see you here next week. Thanks, Mary, so much.
Thank you so much.
Tell your mama we love her and we're praying for her.
Thank you.
Make that change.